Ladies and gentlemen, we acknowledge him. He is back by popular demand, and he has got a lot to talk about tonight. Not just his match, that in some part we're responsible here on Sportswire Radio for on the 30th of September against him and Joel Cobra at GT Ministries, their show in Stockton. No, he's got dates coming up on the 8th of September. Of course, the Marty Jones Squared Circle Academy and our longtime friends on a Sunday, no less, the 10th of September, and against Beelzebub. And he's going to talk about that sort of surprise entrance kind of heard round the world at the last CCW show. He needs no further introduction, though. But because he's been on here time after time, and he is one of our all-time favorites, and if there were a Sportswire Radio Hall of Fame, he would definitely be a first ballot. So we're going to give him that introduction that he certainly deserves because he is going to be acknowledged whether he likes it or not. So with that, wait for it. Further ado here on the Sports Report, the number one global sports show. He is the Tribal Cheese. The Big Cheese. Logan.
Do we wait for
I
it?
acknowledge.
It ain't easy being cheesy. Acknowledge. Bree.
I acknowledge you. Yes, I acknowledge you.
Great intro. You've been working on them vocal cords there, haven't you?
I have to say, I was actually like almost 100% because I have been battling a stomach virus for days. The last 2 days, I'm like back to normal again. So I feel like the introductions, because I've done this now like 5 or 6 times in like 48 hours, I think they're like even better than they were the last time you came on. Which is saying a lot because you've been on here now like 4 or 5 times.
They're definitely getting better. They're definitely better than longer. Definitely a good vocal cord.
They're going to have to try to top that in Stockton. They're going to have to try and top that at the Marty Jones show. And they're going to certainly have to try and top that over in certainly GT Ministries and CCW. But obviously, it is good to be with you. You know, we have a lot to talk about tonight. But I got to get to it because it has been all the talk of social media. We've had you guys on in the past. We've obviously known the both of you guys like the back of my hand. Joel Cobra said a lot 2 weeks ago in your chair, the Tribal Cheese. But now for those that are listening and watching here on Sportswire Radio, the Tribal Cheese, you get to respond to some of the things that Joel Cobra said ahead of the showdown that's going to be heard around the world September 30th in Stockton.
He's definitely on now. Finally, it's been a few years in the making. Like, as you know, I left wrestling for a bit. Yep. He came back.
He's had some injuries over the past year or so.
Yeah, he's been hurt. Yep. He got injured. And, it's just been one of those where it's just been like the magnetic force just missing all the time. But it's finally on 30th of September, GTM. Have given us that chance to go to war. And it's going to be an all-out war. I'm telling you, a big war, heavy-hitting war.
It's going to be a heavy-hitting war, no question. But I got to be objective for a second. He said a lot of things where he basically said he's preparing for war. He talked about the fact, now you're the Tribal Cheese. You're certainly a very special person to us here on Sportswire. But the facts are, Joel Cobra, I mean, he's somebody that you really haven't seen in the ring in a long time. Somebody like him. I mean, what's your thoughts on that? Because that has to be at least some concern. I mean, talk to me about that.
I've been watching all his training and that. He's been dominating a few opponents. But
I saw him in Bolton Town. I saw him this past week over at Nonstop Action Wrestling.
He's just done True Grit as well.
Yep, Sean Only, he squared off with the head trainer, by the way, of GTM. I mean, and Sean Only, by the way, is going to be wrestling somebody I spoke to you about, who you were kind of the only other attraction with, RP Davis, coming up in October. Yep, that was announced. It was announced 2 days ago. So Joel Cobra is getting in the reps that he's long wanted.
He definitely is. And I bet he's tuning in here now to see what I'm up to.
As a lot of people are, I'm sure, right now. This is a highly wanted spot right now. So
He's been training very hard, though. Have you been watching him on socials? He's been
yes.
hammering it. So I definitely know it's not a walkover, this one. It ain't no walkover. We're both going to come out, but there'll only be one winner in the end of the night, and that will be the tribal cheese.
I'll get to comments here, but let me ask you this, because you got 3 shows coming up in the span of a
Yes.
month from today. Today is August 30th. September 30th is the big showdown. We've got 2 other shows in between. I definitely want to spend time on those for
Yes, we
different
will.
reasons. But this is the most I think we're going to see you really in a ring in a long time in your career. I mean, do you feel like you've got a lot to prove this next month?
Yeah, definitely. As I say, I don't like to put myself out there too much. So, like, these three in a month for me, that's like massive. I only like do once, like quarterly, one every 3 months, something like that. I don't put myself out there that regular. But a lot of people want to take on the tribal cheese and fancy the chances. So, I'm not a man to back down from a challenge. So it's got to be done.
No, definitely. And let's talk about obviously the first of the 3 dates we're going to see. And I definitely, in the middle one, want to spend a lot of time. And I'm going to come back to Mr. Cobra in a second. But Marty Jones, Squared Circle Academy. Now, ironically, Mr. Cobra is going to be there also. So I'm kind of curious as a fly on the wall, what'll happen there. Maybe that ties into Mr. Cobra. But I mean, talk about this. Obviously, Marty Jones, I mean, legend, everything he's done for us here in this sport. I mean, talk to me about that show and what you're expecting there out of that.
That's a certified legend, and that is going to be the first time I'm going to be wrestling in my hometown in like 20 months. It's going to be that's a long time. I mean, like, I've been here, there, and everywhere, but never in Manchester. So that one, I know that the tickets have done really well for that. The Big Cheese Army are going to be there.
Well, listen, you have a fan base. Listen. When you're on any bill, the tickets, it's like I said before, it's you and RPD are the only 2 attractions that I know in the UK. So if you're on a bill, you're getting 20, 30, 40 extra people off the
No
bat.
pressure there, though, is there?
And I think it's more special because we've had you on a bunch of times is because you don't do this every week. You're not somebody that's on twice a week, 3
Yeah,
times
yeah.
a week, once a week. There are guys like Johnny Storm. There are guys like Paul Malin. There are guys like Martin Kirby, Dean Allmark, who's going to be on the show Cheap Plug Monday. Those guys are pros. You do this, and it's very special when you do it.
Yeah. It's like I say, I don't put myself out there that much, so the word of mouth gets about. Oh, Cheesy's resting on this one, and it's good, like, because I do have a busy schedule, so I'll just fit it in. But yeah, I'm gonna have a good break after the 30th of September. A good break.
Okay, so then these shows coming up, the Marty Jones one, and I'll come to CCW in a second. Are those shows, let's say, your warm up in preparing for war for Mr. Cobra?
Well, the show on the 8th, I don't legitimately have an opponent yet, so and I know Joel Cobra is going to be there, but don't think he's foolish enough to step in the ring and be a winner.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be in the same locker room, you guys are 2 of the biggest men in this sport. I said it. You guys are right now, physically, pound for pound, 2 of the biggest giants, 2 of the toughest guys right now around. You telling me that you guys may not even run into each other? It's going to be hard to avoid.
If we run into each other, Marty Jones will not let us punch the hell out of each other. He will banish us from the building. So if we're going to run into each other in the locker room, it'll have to be in the car park. He won't allow that.
But all right, we'll have to see.
But then you've got 2 big men that are just like, I don't know. We'll see on the 8th. You got to be there to see what goes down.
Absolutely, no question about that. And then, I mean, with the show like this, I mean, it's a very diverse card. It's up and comers, veterans like yourself. Joel's going to be a part of it. Does that excite you, being into kind of a different environment at home, nonetheless?
I find that them ones at home too nerve-wracking. Feel a bag of nerves that day, because that's like when all the family members come down. A lot of family members don't travel, but they come down for that one. So yeah, it's good because you get like some of the veterans and you get a lot of upcoming talents, and you're like, ooh. So it depends in the locker room who the upcoming talents sit with. Did they go the Cobra way or the Cheese way? That's who we want to see.
Well, we'll see who certainly will do that. I want to get to some comments here because people would like to say hello. I want to say hello to DJBIOE, my tribal cheese. Yes, we definitely acknowledge. Daniel Banner, maybe you'll see Daniel Banner on September 30th. Apparently, Sean Only is training him. Obviously, Sean Only is the
He
GTM
put me
trainer.
on his list of dream opponents. Well, thank you for that.
Well,
Is
that
that
would be as much as we love Daniel Banner, that would be a dream opponent because obviously for him might be a dream that he may not wake up out of if he's wrestling for real. So we love Daniel on here, but that's kind of the facts here. And he also says, "I'm wearing DJB. I'm wearing my Chet of the Table shirt right now, and I've got my Big Cheese shirt on because I didn't have the
I
Joe
didn't
Cobra
notice
shirt on."
that.
And by the way, Joel Cobra said months ago he was going to mail me out an MDM shirt. I still haven't got it. So
It's not true. Not true to the word, then, is it? Like the true to the word, like he says he's going to beat me. Not happening, Cobra.
Also, he says here before I come back to Mr. Barris, looking at that gorgeous trophy in the background. Show us the trophy.
This is better than any title, by the way. This was like the Brad's Brawl from the Bradley Lowry Foundation. That's a big honor. This one, that is a big honor winning that. That's better than any title.
Which we're going to talk about here in a second, because obviously, since you've come on, you debuted in CCW. So I'm going to talk about that in a second because, of course, Mr. Barris is here. And he says, my tribal brother. And obviously, say hello to Mr. Barris. Love Mr. Barris. And we'll have CCW coverage, more of it coming up ahead. So stay tuned for a few announcements. But let's talk about September 10th, Beelzebub. But before we do that, Bradley Lowry Foundation. We had Walker Wall Street and Jam Dog on right before that show that took place. You were a huge part of it. So first of all, talk about the debut in CCW. Talk about what that meant, and obviously winning that trophy in his behalf.
Yeah, that one was better than any belt I like things. So especially,
I think, by the way, bigger and more important than any belt you've held recently.
Yeah, definitely. I like doing the good things for charity. It was an over the top rope event. I love them. I've always said that.
Yes, your record speaks for itself. We have some wrestlers on Sportswire talk about their record in tables matches. You in Battle Royals is totally like the same thing.
I'm obsessed with him. I'll be entering that Rumble in the Underground Battle Royal on the 10th of September. By the way, after I've dealt with Beelzebub, I will be entering that.
So wait. Time out for a second. You're pulling double duty on the 10th?
Oh, 100%. If I'm like coming out of like a stretcher, I am going to be like limping in like Bret Hart in Royal Rumble '94. I'm getting in that Rumble.
He was limping with the ankle, and he went in there, and then they had that bizarre Royal Rumble win with it was clear.
Very bizarre.
Directly side point. I think Lex Luger his foot touched first, and they kind of said no, it's a tie, but it was kind of clear. Years later, you looked at it on.
And all the original camera angles are took out from that. They've done it so you can't see it like properly. You can probably see it online.
Okay, so you're gonna be wrestling twice technically on the 10th. I mean,
yeah, and it's a first for me on the 10th. I mean, a coffee match. That's another new one. I've never done that.
Well, there's reasons why. Because first of all, you were attacked in the parking lot a few weeks ago.
Yes.
From Beelzebub. Everybody was surprised at what happened. I mean, you were beaten senselessly.
That was a beatdown.
And then all of a sudden, at the last show, we're all getting ready to basically turn out the lights and forget about it. We see that music, those deafening music, and then all of a sudden you appear. And it all seemed as if everything had changed quicker than a New York Minute, and Beelzebub was acknowledging Brie.
Yeah, he wasn't so powerful when he wasn't sneakily attacking me, was it? That was just like a taster of what's going to come on the 10th of September. I'm going to deal with the devil when I seal the nail in the coffin on Beelzebub. That is definitely going to happen.
Are you concerned, though, you're going into something that you don't know? It's a dynamic that the big cheese, the tribal cheese, is not really used to. Are you any concerned about tricks that Beelzebub may have?
I'm definitely concerned, but like the king of the jungle, I'm a natural adapter to life. I'll feel out that scenario and then I'll play it out.
All right, we'll have to see. But talk to me first about CCW. CCW has been a company that we've done a lot of work with on Sportswire, just about for almost 2 years now. Obviously, this is a company that I think, while you might be different than, you're actually similar to in a lot of ways, because it has a rabid fan base. You have as rabid of a fan base as anybody's out there that I've seen in my career. You've got, obviously, I think a lot of things that CCW does I think, is for the right reasons. We talk about a lot of the charity stuff, giving back in the community. CCW is very a part of that. You've always been very community oriented, very much about the people. Talk to me about CCW and how welcomed you've been here. Now you've been here for about 2 months.
I'm going to take one thing straight away about James Barris. This is what I am acknowledging James Barris. For as much as hate as he gets, he is the best promoter I have ever dealt with in wrestling. His creative mind is up there with the Paul Heymans and that. I'm telling you, his mind for wrestling is possibly the best that, like I say, I've ever dealt with. And then, like, wow, this guy, I still like to beat him down though, but his creative mind is fantastic, and his top tier can go away. But honestly,
listen, you got to give him that. He's had several inclinations, and they might be the strongest variation he's had to date. I mean,
yeah, this is true. Yeah, the one the mic as well. He's a master. He's a master at work.
We've had him. I've had him on here countless times. I know he can talk. Listen, there are some people that come on, and it's like, yeah. No, maybe no. He could probably do he could probably do the interviews himself, and he does it all the time on Facebook. Anytime you go to James Barris' Heavy Championship Wrestling Facebook page, I mean, he basically conducts his own interviews. I mean, God bless him for that.
Yeah, no, the CCW family have welcomed me in very well, very, very well. No complaints about it. Everything 100%. It's been brilliant. They've listened to ideas. They've given all this new talent and all these creative ideas that you see.
I got to ask you real quick on CCW, and I have comments, but obviously we had Walker on and Jam Dog. Walker I've had on a bunch of times, and I know obviously you were commenting in there. And
we need to get Jam Dog back, by the way.
I've got yes, Jam Dog's going to come back. I have more. I have CCW announcements coming. I have a couple. I have one that maybe is CCW. The other one, they're definitely part of CCW. So I'll get to those. But, I mean, you're in the locker room. You've seen some of these guys like Walker, Jam Dog, obviously Dustin Hart. I mean, you got some guys that are just...
Big Ronnie Thatcher.
You can never forget about Ronnie Thatcher, obviously. Carnage Championship Wrestling. But, I mean, obviously, as anybody in the roster you've taken a liking to most, or talk to me about kind of being in the locker room. What's that been like now in CCW?
Like, as in, like, personal friends from the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, basically, like, who have you kind of maybe gravitated to? Who have you kind of like, who sought out advice from you? You know, you are the tribal cheese. You are obviously this guy with a devoted following. I mean, who is kind of...
Everybody.
Really?
Everybody.
Wow, okay.
Every single person on that roster will give you time. Every single person. Everybody has been hands down welcoming. Everybody.
You know, I'm glad you said that because I've always felt that the CCW roster...
It's like a family as well.
Yes.
And the fan base is an even bigger family. That's what CCW is.
It's always been to me a place that it's very different than a lot of places. And not to go into the weeds, because I do a lot of stuff around the world, right? I do all wrestling at this point. What if you want to call it underground, YouTube, pro wrestling, indie wrestling, whatever you want to call it, right? But CCW to me has always been special in a sense that everybody's together. You see the photos and the locker room is together, where it's setting up the ring, whether it's being out in the community, the charity stuff. I mean, there's just something different, the offshoots of the companies. And I think that's why the fans are so devoted to CCW. CCW shows always sell out. CCW shows always have just massive, massive promotion. The fan group, CCW pages on Facebook have 4,000 plus members. What company has that? You're going into a dynamic, and now we're seeing the likes of Johnny Storm and CCW.
Yeah.
One of my recent guests coming on Friday, Davey Blaze, CCW.
Yes.
I mean, you've got some, like, in addition to yourself, some really big hitters that are coming to CCW.
Well, because they lost some names, but I think they gained more in the longer run.
When you talk about Johnny Storm, I mean, you're talking like the cream of the crop. When you're talking about Davey Blaze is going around the world. I mean, so when you have these wrestlers,
Davey Blaze,
he's coming here Friday. I mean, he's gonna definitely probably try to top you. I mean, he's gonna see this and he's gonna definitely go. He already told me. But the point is, in CCW, I think that it's a match made in heaven for you, a match made in tribal cheese, because it's a place that I think is very unique compared to the average company in the UK because of the fan base, the locker room, people who are here want to be here.
Yeah, that's right. I tell you, the funny thing was, like that surprise that I'd done.
Yep.
Yeah, that was legitimately none of the roster knew. So I was about to come out, and you had that.
Well, I want to know, did you even know? Because I was when I watched it on Instagram and I watched it on Facebook, I was like shocked because like I don't even think you knew the way it looked.
This is how like nail biting it was. So 5 o'clock. I know the show was like starting the door 7 p.m. It's right. 2.5 hours for me. So I was like, how can I surprise this? I'm speaking to Barry. He's like, Beelzebub's gonna be here. I'm like, okay, what time's he about? It was like right to the point. I packed up and flew in. Maybe about 5 minutes, and then it was there. But like people back, like, what are you doing here? That was the funny part. I'll post the video soon. I've got a video of it. After I've dealt with Beelzebub, I'll post the full video.
Okay, let me ask you on this. Talk about, to me, this was storytelling did at its finest. Agree or disagree?
Agree, wholesomely agree. And but there was a few people disappointed. Like, you didn't tell us that you was going to be at the show, but that's like takes away the live aspect, if I say.
But that's why I brought that up, because if you think about like British wrestling, this is not a knock or a support, whatever. This is just basically an objective opinion. It is very rare that you get a surprise pulled off the way that your surprise was pulled off last weekend.
I can't think when it was last done like that kind of shock that I claimed that I was at AEW All In, which was on the same time, and then I was in.
Yeah, because you told me you were going to All In, and that was like, all right, yeah, I'll see you then. And like I said, I had no idea. Nobody had an idea, so I was like.
But now, if I said I was going to the CM Cons Club, Beelzebub wanted a show, so it had to be done. I had to do what was best for business.
Well, okay. Well, let me get to comment here because people certainly want to have their opinions. Daniel Banner would like to say Logan needs a shirt great saying the great one like The Rock, but instead of great.
I like that.
That's kind of clever. That is clever.
Yeah.
James is a phenomenal person, top to bottom, hands down. You don't have to say anything on this, but I feel like maybe Mr. Barris gets a bad rap for different reasons that maybe people just don't know him well, or maybe
I would say like the bad rap would come from because he gives you so much creativity. Sometimes it can be.
Is that a fault? Maybe sometimes is that a fault that he has, that he allows the talent to do things, and he gives them. There's an old adage: he gives them more rope than they can offer. Too much rope.
Too much rope. I wouldn't say it gets too much rope, but like he gives you a lot of opportunities. But he will rope it in when you go in a bit out of the way. Be like, no. I don't know how other people deal with it, like, but my dealings with him have been great. They have been great.
Yeah, you know what? Listen, and I will say this again as we're here with the Big Cheese Logan, our Tribal Cheese. You can follow him on YouTube at Mad Manx, also Instagram, Twitter at Big Cheese Logan. Also, check us out on Facebook. I have shared the link on the CCW Facebook pages, so definitely come by, say hello. But I think that to me, again, this is a company that really, to me, if you're here, you are welcomed and you get a chance. I mean, there's a lot of guys, if you think about CCW, their careers have leapfrogged and they've become something. And I think that that's obviously, why, again, you are here. And again, that's why I want people to support you. Also, CCW is helping me realize a lifelong dream. And for that, it shall forever have my support. One-on-one, like the great one, the Rockabilly Cheese. The Rockabilly Cheese. I don't get the Rockabilly Cheese.
I don't like the Rockabilly Cheese. I don't like it.
That reminds me of what was it? Was Billy Gunn Rockabilly, or was that Road Dogg that was Rockabilly?
No, it just reminds me of Hillbilly Jim or something like done.
You don't strike me as a Hillbilly Jim, but we Daniel Banner here. But so on the 10th of September, Beelzebub.
Yes,
we got a lot here that's going on here. I mean, so. How important is this for you to kind of put the nail in the coffin here to Beelzebub?
Well, if he puts the nail in the coffin to me on the 10th of September, I mean, Cobra's going to have a problem getting me in the ring, isn't he? If Beelzebub's
big problem.
So, why would Cobra want to like get in the ring with me if I've been beat on them events, So I have statements.
And Cobra's been in CCW, by the way, and he's been very impressive in the past in CCW.
He's still part of the roster.
Yeah,
He's
and you know what?
part of the
Maybe do you feel competition with Mr. Cobra in that sense?
Like I said,
you didn't see that question coming.
On the 30th, that will be dealt with. The 30th, he will be dealt with, and that competition has gone also.
Well, we'll certainly find out. And again, my name is the Reverend Tom Bryce. I'm the man behind Sportswire Radio. And if you are here on YouTube, give us a follow. We are on YouTube at Sportswire Radio. We're also on Twitter at Thomas Bryce 2017. And also 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You can listen to all of our content on sportnarium.com/player. We also play your favorite podcasts. We also simulcast these shows. I format music. So if you like Peter Gabriel Sledgehammer, I always play that every time I'm off the air. We play a few other songs. I think Information Society, What's on Your Mind, I play on there. So if you like 80s kind of new wave or post-new wave, I've got that in there in the system. Got a number of different shows. But I'm also on Instagram as well, the Sports Report 2021. And we've got more wrestling coverage coming up Friday. As I said, Davey Blaze is going to be here, 8 o'clock British Standard Time. That is going to be one for the ages. You want to talk about guys that can certainly do their own interview? I mean, who knows what he's going to say? He's promised me that he's going to basically be as unfiltered as he can be. So you're going to want to tune into that one. But Monday is a real honor. Dean Allmark is in the house, 6 o'clock British Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You want to talk about royalty. You want to talk about legends and somebody who's still doing it. Oh, by the way, just celebrated a birthday. Dean Allmark is here. He's live, and he's going to talk about the past, the present, and the future. And this is a guy who's beaten Daniel Bryan in the ring. This is a guy that has pretty much wrestled every single legend in this sport around the world. He's going to talk about all of that and something. I want to thank our friend, Mr. Luke Leyland, for giving us this opportunity, for having us here with Mr. Allmark himself. And again, follow him, Dean Allmark, on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just check him out. Luke Leland, I really can't thank you enough for giving us this opportunity to speak with Mr. Dean Allmark. In fact, Luke's going to kill me because the first time I just mispronounced his name, but the second time I remember, because it's L-A-Y. I pronounced it like that, but it's actually said Leland. So I want to thank
okay.
Yeah. I want to thank him for that. So really some great shows ahead. But right now we are here with the Tribal Cheese, who we definitely acknowledge. I want to come back to Joe Cobra in a second, but I have to ask you, because everybody's been talking about in the pro wrestling world, what did Bray Wyatt mean to you?
Oh man, I had so many good moments with Bray Wyatt. Even like
you met him, right? You met him.
I met him as Husky Harris.
I remember it was 2010 in Nexus. I remember that very well.
Yeah. I didn't really know about him coming through and then, but I thought he was a cool guy. Then I met him a few times after that. He was always so nice to me. He was always a man of the people. Always, He'd always give you his time. And I think that's why no one's got a bad word to say about him. But creative mind and all that, I'm still waiting for the news to come out. I don't really know what went on with him.
Apparently, I had read there was a report. I think it was the medical report by the police had done that he had a heart defibrillator.
Yes, it's something like that. He
didn't wear the defibrillator, and his wife went upstairs, and then she found him. He was not responsive. I mean, that's kind of crazy if that's the case.
I mean, it's awful because he's got a family and all that, and such a young age.
4 kids.
Yeah. Puts life into perspective, that kind of stuff.
36 years old. I mean, 36, right? This is a guy that had the whole world in his hands.
Absolutely crazy. I know. It was a massive shock. I think I told you first, didn't I? I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's funny. When you said it, I was like, what? And then I saw your post, and then I saw everybody else that was posting about it, and I was flabbergasted because he was only 36, and he was.
First, I thought it was some storyline. Looking at it, I thought, is it a storyline? Is he going to come back as the dead man? And I was like, no, that's to call him by his real name. There, that's like it's come from the head office. That.
Yeah, I mean, just really terrible, terrible news. Obviously, we certainly give our thoughts and prayers to his family. Also, his brother, Bo Dallas, had debuted in AEW last week, and his father is obviously the legendary Mike Rotunda, who won 5 tag team championships, and his
Yep.
uncle is Barry Windham, who Barry Windham, everybody knows.
Uncle Howdy will have another go though now. Will Uncle Howdy come back, do you think?
Well, I mean, I guess that's a call for WWE because he showed up in AEW. I mean, Bo Dallas was there last week. So
Yeah, like
know.
when Eddie passed, Chavo had a job for like years after it, didn't it? Like not really doing anything.
Yeah, it was funny you said that because it was like 3 years we didn't see him on TV, and it was almost like didn't know anything about him really,
Yeah. No storyline, just there.
Yeah, kind of weird. One of those weird kind of situations where a guy was kind of sitting and basically doing nothing, and Bray obviously had, some issues there with that, and also Bray. Also, to me, was one of the last great character wrestlers. You think about the last decade in WWE, and he was one of those guys that was really one of the last kind of people that was kind of unique in that sense.
Yeah, definitely. He definitely was. I'm thinking, like, even going back to the Royal Rumble, like, them kind of weird matches did he have? Did he have a good long problem for a while? Because he didn't really get in the ring and wrestle, did he?
Yeah, he had the match at Chamber against LA Knight. He was at Raw 30, and then maybe 1 or 2 times he was on SmackDown after that, and I think that was it. I don't think we've seen Bray on TV for maybe 5 months, about 5-6 months.
Yeah, was it Royal Rumble?
I believe it was Elimination Chamber. He had the match. It was the blackout match. It was the Mountain Dew blackout match he had with LA Knight, which you'll probably maybe it was the Rumble. Yeah, it was the Rumble. Correct.
Yeah,
correct. It was the Rumble.
January.
And then he appeared a few more times after that. You're correct. And then you'll chuckle. I was actually on the air after his match, and I bought the Mountain Dew blackout drink, and I actually tried it on the air, and it was basically all hype. It was grape soda. It was basically grape soda with a Mountain Dew twist. But yeah. But
speaking of trying things, what was your favorite UK chocolate? Let them all know about you here.
The Cadbury, I would say by far was the Cadbury, the caramel. That was great. The Cadbury, those were, and I had almost the it was the bar I had with it was like the crackle. It looked like a crackle bar almost. In fact, I have it here.
Right, the Marvelous Creations.
Yes, that was great. In fact,
I have just saying to America. What's that thing that I messaged you the other day of them moon pig things? What are they?
Yes, yeah, the moon.
They're horrendous. No one ever
moon pies. That was terrible. I don't even know anybody that even eats a moon pie. And you actually had
every time I go to an American shop, I eat it so I can have a topic with you. So
get back to your question. I would say the crunchy might have been also one of my other favorites. Remember the crunchy? The crunchy was very good. That was almost like a caramel. I think that was like a caramel crunchy kind of thing. But the moon pies are like, you find those here at like a 7-Eleven. Those are like, if you're like drunk, it's like 2:00 in the morning, nothing to eat. That's when you have a moon pie.
Well, I wouldn't even have one drunk till in the morning. So
that was funny that you just had the moon pie, you ate it, and you were just like,
hey, and you know how dear it is. We paid the import, and that was like £3. I got how many dollars that is? $4 or something.
Yeah. I mean, so a moon pie, yeah. That was bad. That was bad. Yeah, the moon pies. When I saw you had the moon pie, I was like, yeah, but I gave some of the candy to my mother because there was so much candy I would never have ate. I gave it to my niece. I think might have had 1 or 2 of the candies, and I had a few of them. So the ones I picked out, I liked, and I enjoyed it. Yeah, it was great. I have to send you something next time. There's a lot of people I owe things to.
You're not sending me anything because this American chocolate doesn't go down with me.
Fair enough. Yeah, I figured. I actually think the British candy was actually better than the American candy, to be honest. Because I think we spoke about I'm not a big candy eater. I'm not really like, I don't eat candy unless it's like, like last minute. But I'll come back to some things in a second. But CCW recently held their own tribute to Wyndham, and it was beautiful. He shall always be an innovative and truly legendary superstar. Yeah, I definitely agree about that. And you can follow CCW also on Instagram at Colory Championship _wrestling. And I want to say hello here to somebody that I know you gave some advice to. He'd like to say hello. That is the good guy, CJ Black from ROEW. You can follow them on Instagram and YouTube at ROEW Backyard Wrestling. He's got a big show coming up. And he said, shout out to the Big Cheese, making sure I'm a proper bastard.
That was that was some advice. Yeah, I'm hoping he's living up to that. What I told him.
No, he definitely is. No, he's going to be back on Sportswire very soon. He's definitely a guy, he's one of these guys, maybe on air you may not agree with, but certainly off the air, he is a guy that eats, sleeps, drinks wrestling. That's why I like him because
I
he,
like him. I mean, I don't give him
he's
out me follows a lot, but I give him a follow. So give him a
no,
follow.
I know. And listen, and I suggested to him to speak to you because I really think your advice. I was gonna do RPD, but RPD these days is like Hollywood almost. He's like Hollywood RPD, so it's like I have to like if I ask RPD for something, it's almost like I feel like I'm asking my rich uncle for something who's even more richer than me. Yes, I know I'm well off, but he's
Am I more
well off.
down to the street level? Am I like the street level when you can ask?
Yeah, RPD. I only ask RPD for something these days, like once every like 3 or 4 months. Even though he always says, "Yeah, ask me whatever you want." When I ask him for something, it's almost like, "Can you sign an autograph for me?" kind of thing. Not that I want the autograph, but I really thought it was great that you spoke with him. He's not a good guy. He's a great guy actually, and he's obviously doing some big things out there. And he's really working hard to improve his craft and what he does. And I really appreciate what he does. That's why I want to give him a home here on Sportswire. So thank you so much for tuning in, and thank you for your support. And I want people to follow you again on Instagram and YouTube, and I'll definitely be talking with you live on the air very soon. But I want to come back to Mr. Cobra because, Mr. Cobra was on here, and, you got to be almost taken aback in a sense because I know you've been on here back and forth with him. You've cut each other up, but you've interjected even. But he took his glasses off, what he normally doesn't do when he's on the air, and he basically interrupted me to have this announcement. And he said a lot about you. I mean, do you feel like, in a way, are you possibly waking a sleeping giant?
Well, we can go back to one of the times you had him on air, and I
And you
popped
came
in,
in and you said, "Tom, don't even talk." And
and
you basically cut him off and spoke with him
And
for
I wanted to see into his eyes too. Get them glasses off. I want to see. And had that intense stare off. For those that haven't seen it, catch it. It's on the Revs page. But yeah, as I say, we've been in the ring once, and we
He spoke
absolutely
about that last
were each
time, and
other.
you spoke about it. But you only had like what, a minute with each other? It was kind of
A
like,
minute and the hits. I mean, I just remember the crowd like, oh, and then we was broke up. But that was when it was set in stone. Maybe that was 2019 when that happened, something like that. It was a long time ago. And since then, we've wanted to get in that ring, and finally, next month it's happening, and I can't wait.
well, I want to talk about that again. I want to come back to the fact that you are going to be now in GT Ministries in
Yes,
Stockton, September the 30th. And I want to talk about this for a few reasons because this is a really unique show that GT Ministries is doing because, as we know, GT Ministries' base is usually the Fountains Church in Bradford. But what GT Ministries has started to do over the past few months is that they've started to take Wrestling Church, which basically, for those that may not know, Wrestling Church is something where you might get a match or two, and then you kind of get a mix of maybe like a sermon. You might get people that have been baptized or have never been baptized and get baptized. And you have kind of some music. You have a live band. You have some different things. It's a really unique show. It's really something that I don't think
yeah,
wrestling
I've been to a few. It's very unique, very
very
unique.
unique, and it's a really cool thing. And it's kind of in a way how CCW is very unique with the community-based kind of atmosphere. GT Ministries does it with the religious kind of thing. So
Yeah.
talk to me about now being a part of GT Ministries for the first time, and what's that going to be like for you?
That's it. Like I say, it's a totally different ball game. That one. Like, I will always like go to a few shows and see if I like it before. Like, think, give it a chance. I won't just go straight in. I never go straight in. I have to sit
You
in the
know, you
crowd.
didn't do that with CCW, that's for sure.
Yeah, I like I say, even at CCW, I was sat in the crowd and was like, "Yeah, I can work with this." And I did that at 2 GTM shows, and then the message came through from Gareth Angel, um, asking even free this date, what opponent do you want? Joe Cobra, boom, boom, done. And all my fees from that one are going to charity. That's true. I told Gareth Angel that. I said all the fees, because I want to fight him so bad, send it to charity. So that's my other good deed done for that.
But you know what, though? That matches to me a lot about what GT Ministries has done. As you know, I've covered GT Ministries for a long time. GT Ministries is a company that's very special to me on a personal level because of the work that GT Ministries does. Again, very much similar to my support of CCW. GT Ministries is a company that isn't just about a wrestling promotion or a wrestling
Yep.
show. GT Ministries provides mental health when it comes to
Yes.
support for that. GT Ministries is a company that goes out with what they do and helps the homeless. GT Ministries helps spread the word of Jesus Christ, whatever you might believe in your religious affiliations.
Well, yeah.
GT,
If you've not seen Gareth's story when he announced it in the ring,
yeah,
it's a great story.
I mean, Gareth's story, and Gareth, has been on here thousands of times.
Yeah.
And, Gareth's story, basically like he was practically abandoned. He was living in a dumpster. I mean, he was
In a dumpster.
basically,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like the.
it's like a really sad story. You think about it and it's like, but he turned around his life and he used kind of that story. Obviously, he became a wrestler, became very, like you
Well,
very
I
successful.
was sat in the crowd for that show, and I was like, "This is a motivational speak. This is giving me the you can do anything sort of."
You're motivated to begin with, and you're getting motivated.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I'm like, man, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it. That's what he's like. I felt the energy coming through. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to working with Gareth. And after Cobra's dealt with, we'll see where I go from there. Don't know if it's a one-off or not, but I'm going to enjoy it. Just while I'm there, I'm going to enjoy the ride.
Well, do you feel like then? Okay, do you feel like then? Obviously, there's a lot to prove because this is a match years in the making. But do you feel like you want to show a company like this in GT Ministries that, you've always done things for the community, you've always done good works, that this is a company that you'd like to be in more often? I mean, obviously, nobody knows what the future holds, but, I think in a lot of ways, your beliefs, your integrity, I think is very similar to what
Yeah,
Gareth
there's
has
a lot of
done.
people. Police, if you notice, like I find a thing with me. If it's going to a good cause, going to charity, I am there rather than a better payday. I don't like the paydays. If it's helping someone out, I am on it.
And
That's
I
what it's
think
all
about
about.
the people that he's helped. Blue Glasses Girl has been on here. Pride. I think about some of the people that have gone to training and, obviously done different things. And the biggest example of, I think, what Garrett's kind of role has been is Jack Johnson. I mean, Jack Johnson, look at his
Yeah,
story, right? Jack Johnson was a guy that people gave up on, right? Jack
should we give
Johnson
him a
was,
shout out?
yeah, exactly. There you go.
Salford!
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I should do it at the top of the show, but you're not from Salford. But the point is that Jack is the biggest example of Gareth giving somebody an opportunity, believing in them, and look at what Jack has done. Jack has been a world champion in 2 companies. Jack has been a main eventer. Jack has turned his life around. Jack has just been like, and I've had Jack on several times. Jack is another guy that you really want to believe in. And I really hope, by the way, as the host of the Sports Report, your voice of all wrestling, the man behind Sportswire Radio, that I get to see you in GT Ministries whenever you feel that it's worth your time and your efforts, because it's a company that have had so many people come on that it's a great locker room with. Obviously, Gung Ho Muttley I've had on a bunch of times. Bentley is coming back on. By the way, cheap plug, Bentley's coming on before his match with Rarebit. Rarebit is obviously somebody I know, wink, wink, very well also. It's a great roster of people that I know very well. Old school MC2, who does the play-by-play.
Yeah, yeah,
He's somebody, Bradley Cook Pattinson, Blue Glasses Girl, who I mentioned. I mean,
yeah.
it's a roster that's, Shelby Sinar is somebody that's been on here. She does work. She does the announcing. I mean, it's a company that I have so much.
It's super stacked again. And speaking of Jack Johnson, if I had the dream opponents, he is one of them.
So are you saying that after you get done with Mr. Cobra that you want to go and shift your attention to Jack Johnson? Did I hear that correctly?
So got like that barrier there, Salford, Cheetham Hill. That's yes.
Now I have to tell you
I would like a
that,
piece of Jack Johnson.
speaking of Mr. Cobra, I have to tell you that Mr. Cobra has messaged me. He has informed me that he is watching this and that he is basically saying to be ready by the 30th of September, and that he is certainly watching every move that you are doing, and that he's going to be doing a lot of homework on you by the September the 8th place that you'll see him at the Marty Jones Squared Circle Academy. And especially, he'll be doing his homework on you for the 10th of September at CCW show. So Mr. Cobra has wanted to pass that message along to you. Any response?
I'm also going to pass on the message to Mr. Cobra. Why does he always ambush me? I never could do it face to face.
Well, maybe the answer might be from Mr. Cobra's standpoint that
We have seen when I was in the gym and he attacked me with JJ Nova. Another example. No one ever comes square up to my face and has a problem.
Well, maybe from Mr. Cobra's vantage point, there's a thing called mind games. Mind games. Think about it, right? Look at you, right? Now, take a step back. I'll get to the comments in a second. Look at the size of you.
Bullying. He's got his whole team. He's mafia.
But listen, you've been a shoot fighter. You've basically climbed mountains. You could probably climb Mount Everest, right? You're this guy. Look at the size and shape that you're in, right? Mr. Cobra knows that maybe if he attacks you from behind, confronts you like he has in the past, maybe that gets into your head a little bit and says, you know what? Maybe that's a way that he's getting in the head of the tribal.
Maybe he is winning these mind games and playing all these stupid things he's doing.
And you know what? He doesn't acknowledge Bree. He doesn't acknowledge you.
I know he don't. He talks bad of me all the time, and that's why I'm going to deal with this.
Well, what do you think about what happened where you said and he said that the winner of the match would basically shake hands and acknowledge each other? What do you say to that?
I think that could be the end of that war. That's what he said. Well, the end of that war.
So let's say since you're here, you're in the chair, right? So when you beat him on the 30th of September, do you think he'll be man enough to shake your hand?
No.
Why do you say that, though? Why do you say that?
So he won't be able to accept it. He won't be able to acknowledge Bree. He won't.
You sure about that?
I'm sure.
And let's say, hypothetically, if there was a chance that Mr. Cobra had defeated you, and you don't lose, by the way, you're very, very difficult.
I'm telling you, whatever the outcome, my hand is coming out.
Okay, all right.
My hand is going to be there, whether he wants to shake it or not. My hand is going to be there. If he beats me, then the better man won. If he beats me, and the modern day mafia are involved in the cheat.
I'm going to come back to that in a second. But I want to get to some comments first.
Okay.
I want to come back to somebody that was on my show a few days ago and is now wrestling here in the United States for New South Pro Wrestling. He's also got a legendary following, which, by the way, you should definitely be on his show. He's got 80,000 followers, by the way.
Tell this tough Taylor. I want to get on his show. Come on.
80,000 followers. The Nemesis Sessions. He is the legendary James Taylor. And James Taylor now says that he wants to have a match with you. Never say never.
See, this is what I mean by these challenges. This is what happens on live broadcast.
Now, he's got a big following, by the way. He's got 41,000 on YouTube. He's got 37 or 38,000 on TikTok. And he's got like 1,000 on Instagram. I mean, you're an attraction, right? He is, I would say, of all the wrestlers I've interviewed in the United States, he might be the biggest attraction. So if you think about this, right, you're the big UK attraction. He's the big US attraction. I mean, think about how the stars could align.
Worlds collide.
It could be. Listen, you think about the possibilities. Maybe James Barris is out there, and James Barris is a very good businessman. He's brought Americans into CCW. Mitchell Taylor was on my show. I mean, maybe Mr. Barris sees something in this James Taylor guy and his following on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, and maybe he wants to bring the Nemesis James Taylor into CCW to face you, where maybe he has to acknowledge Bree and see that you're the tribal cheese and this guy in real life that,
Do you know what I always say when these situations happen? Who's your money on, Rev?
Well, okay, so I'm going to answer it. If it's you and Mr. Taylor, I love James Taylor. I love James Taylor, by the way. I love him. He's a great guy. I've helped him out off the air and different things I won't get into. But knowing the size and the shape you're in and the experience you have, I would certainly give you the edge in that match. Now, you and Mr. Cobra, and I said this, by the way, which I knew you were going to come back to this. I said it with Mr. Cobra then. I said this is a very difficult decision for me because I said I know you both, and technically I know
You
Mr.
always take
Cobra.
the coward's way out.
What's that?
You take the coward's way out.
But I said it in his spot. He was here. I said, well, technically I know Mr. Cobra longer, and so I know you probably, obviously, just as well. I may have had you on more than Mr. Cobra, but I know him longer. So I'm going to have to plead the fifth and say, may the best person win. That's between you and Mr. Cobra. That's my
how
answer.
You keep friends. That's how you keep friends. You don't.
I don't need to get any further enemies at this point on the air. But the fact I'm only goofing. I mean, so be it. But the fact of the matter is, when it comes to you and Mr. Taylor, I love James Taylor, but James Taylor, he wouldn't really have that much of a chance against you. Knowing the shot and shape you're in, and I love James Taylor, but knowing what I've seen you do in the ring, knowing what the size you're in, the shape you're in right now, knowing that you've climbed a mountain, knowing that you've been a shoot fighter, knowing that you've basically trained as an Olympian, that would be my respectful opinion. So, yes, I've got you in that match. But Cobra, I will tell you this about Cobra, though. Cobra held his own in the Rumble at the Fountains Church. He held his Rumble in his own at Bolton Town in the end of June. I saw him in Ensaw. I see him everywhere. So Cobra's got a chance against you. I will say objectively, he's got a shot. Cobra, like I said, it's a 50-50 match. Yep. I know it's not the answer you're hoping for. I know you
know what could also be a factor is depending how busy our month.
You want to know what the other factor is? Gareth likes that I cover GTM, and he always says, this is his joke. This is what Gareth always says. He's like, come on, Tom. You like GT Ministries because we stream all our shows live, and you get to watch it live. And you know that Joe Cobra is always on the show. He's like, come on, Tom. That's exactly what Gareth will say. I guarantee it.
Okay. I'll give you that.
Mr. Taylor would like to say he does have, by the way, he does have a great Stone Cold Stunner. He's got a great sidewalk slam. He's got a great spine buster, but it's still you. It's still Big Cheese versus the Nemesis James Taylor, the Tribal Cheese, who I acknowledge is Bree. So, but I would say, however, Mr. Taylor should certainly get in touch with the Big Cheese Logan. You can do that on Instagram at Big Cheese Logan, YouTube at Mad Manx, and message him and maybe see if he wants to come on the Nemesis sessions and talk about that possibility, because I think a lot of people would be very curious to see what the Big Cheese has to say when it comes to some of these events. So that would be my suggestion to the Nemesis James Taylor to get on the Tribal Cheese and acknowledge Bree. Let me get to more comments here because I have a few others here. Daniel Banner would like to say, Joel Cobra, the most respect that I have for a guy I've trained with and met. I've looked at him as a great friend. I will say this. You don't have to comment. Joel Cobra, to me, is one of the most respected people I think that I've covered in the UK, because Joel Cobra is always out there trying to better himself. Joel Cobra is always trying to learn. He's got the right attitude. And also, of course, he's a big guy and he'll kick your butt. But in all seriousness, his love for the sport of wrestling, it runs in his veins, in his blood, because of his family legacy. And Mr. Cobra, if you mention his name, I don't think too many people have much a bad thing to say about Joel Cobra outside the ring. Certainly you and him inside the ring. As I said a few weeks ago, forget about Brock and Bobby. Forget about Cody and Brock. Forget about Roman and Brock. Forget about any other dream match you think about. Forget about MJF and Adam Cole. Forget about Daniel Bryan and MJF. Forget about Bryan Danielson. Forget about Mickey Mouse. Forget about any other match. This is the match I would put a lot of pounds on, by the way. So I'm glad that we're doing it for the right reasons here. Daniel Banner wants to also point out, Gareth gave me a second chance to turn my life around, to start over from my past mistakes, and I will always be thankful for that. He also says, for you, the big cheese, the Tribal Cheese, I hope we get to meet some of the trainees and do seminars to help other wrestlers out. Well, that's up to that's up to GT Ministry. That's up to the other companies here that want to do those things. That's up to them. I couldn't answer that. That's up to those individuals. But obviously, we're talking about this match here coming up with Joel Cobra, and I'll come back to that here in a few minutes. But CCW. I have to ask you, now that you're here for a few months, what are your goals in CCW?
CCW, the goals. The championship isn't a goal. I've made that clear. It's to get the get the crowd to acknowledge me. That's the main thing. Destroy a few people and walk away into the sunset.
So, can I throw something out there? Because, we do this a lot, right? And we always get people
So,
that want to challenge you, right? We had one right now in James Taylor, the Nemesis, right? But, there's somebody on that has been on the show that's a part of the CCW roster that I was just going off the top of my head, right? And tell me your thoughts, because obviously you're a guy that definitely doesn't back down from challenges. But there's a guy that kind of has a similar background to you. He was also the world champion at the beginning of the year in CCW. And I was wondering, maybe that would be a dream match I would like to see. Maybe Mr. Barris would have a thought or two on that. Or maybe even, I don't know, you would have a thought on that, the Tribal Cheese. What about you, let's say one day, once you get through Beelzebub, what about you and Hybrid in a match? Think about those possibilities for a second. What do you say to that?
Yeah, get it booked. I'd have that all day, every day. Get it booked. He's got a good background in MMA, and that's the kind of fight I want. Someone that's got that fight and grit. Yeah, I want it.
He's been the world champion. He's been at the top here in CCW. He's been a guy that's got a similar background to you. He goes about it, in some ways similar to you, other ways than not. He's got a style that, maybe would sell some tickets, maybe would, draw some attention. And
we had a back and forth battle in the Brad's Brawl as well. I don't know if you've seen it yet.
I heard about that. That's kind of why I wanted to bring that up for a second. And he's a guy that's also
one-on-one. Anyone, I'll have it. One-on-one, anyone.
But don't you think though? In CCW that would be a match that would be, we spoke about you a lot as an attraction, right? We spoke about you and RPD, for my money, are the two attractions in the UK, right? But you think about the stars, right? Hybrid and yourself, right? You think about the possibilities. You think about, I think, the interest and the intrigue that the fans of CCW would have. Certainly your fans would have. To me, this is like right down the pike, right down your alley almost. I mean, don't you think that would be something that would be another attraction match? That would be another match that, I think a lot of people might want to see. And, I even hear from a birdie that Hybrid's coming back to Sportswire soon.
Oh, well, that'll be interesting to tune into that,
I hear he's coming back soon. In fact, I hear from a birdie that somebody spoke to Hybrid about coming on in the month of September.
Oh, okay. Would that be before the 10th or after?
After the 10th.
Okay, that's perfect then. So when I've dealt with Beelzebub, I'll see what he's got to say, and I might just throw a challenge out there and see what Mr. Barris has to say about this one.
So it's safe to say you would be interested in Hybrid coming back to Sportswire? Because we haven't spoke with him in a while since he was last the CCW champion.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Get him back, and I will shoot him.
And you'd like to hear what he would have to say to this. Is that fair to say?
Definitely would. I'd definitely like to hear what he'd have to say about this, yeah. Fighting a legend like him, an ex-champion, that's what you want. They're the ones that you want on your CV.
And you think that would be, in a way, to prove that, let's say, you should be acknowledged, no?
Yeah, I think getting names like that. And then obviously, when I've dealt with a few of these, I'd like to go on to people like Dagon and Adrian Black, who
I know, but believe it or not, I don't know if you know this, but I actually interviewed Dagan a long time ago.
Oh, really?
I have to say, so I interviewed Dagan, I want to say about almost 2 years ago now. Dagan was one of the most, I've done some weird interviews. That was the most bizarre one I've ever did, because basically we had Davey Dukes, I think, do a translation in Roman. And because he speaks obviously in
okay. I want to see a link to this. I need to see a link.
I'll send it to you off the air. I'll send it to you on Instagram. It's one of the more bizarre interviews. It's bizarre. You and Dagan would be an intriguing match. I think Adrian Black's another one. I mean, I even think it'd be fun to see you in Walker Wall Street. Walker mentioned it. We had Walker on here. I asked about you. You know, Walker said he don't back down from challenges.
Not yet for Wall Street. Not yet.
Well, you're busy right now with Beelzebub.
Yeah.
I think after Beelzebub, you know, I'd like to see you in Hybrid. I think, you know what? Hybrid's going to be in the chair. I'm going to ask him about that. You know,
what do we do if the tables are turned right? And so I lose on the 8th at Marty Jones's, I lose on the 10th, and then I lose on the 30th. What would be next for the big cheese then?
Are we doing a retirement interview?
I'm just saying, if like I lose 3 in a row, like would that be like cool? Maybe like these future opponents are not like here.
Do I know? So do I know an interview we have booked the first week of October where you're announcing your retirement?
October the 1st.
Are we going to see you do an interview all of a sudden and say I'm officially announcing my retirement?
No, I'd make sure that I have another.
Do I know? Am I missing something here? Is the 8th of September, the 10th of September, and the 30th of September the Tribal Cheese retirement tour? Is that what this is?
One last tour.
Let's hope it's better than the Hulkamania tour. Let me just put the one they did in Australia years ago. I was just listening to the Eric Bischoff podcast in the 83 weeks, and they were talking about the Hulkamania tour. But, you know, I have to interject because I have a comment from somebody that you might have heard of in GT Ministries. Now, you might have heard of a guy named Gareth Angel, right? You heard of him, right?
Of course.
Now, he would like to say here, looking forward to booking another interview with yours truly. Yes, because, by the way, so you know, Mr. Angel has put out an open challenge for the next GT Ministries show coming up on the 16th of September. And to answer Mr. Angel's question, yes, we will be doing an interview if he would like before the 16th of September. And also, cheap plug, by the way, Bentley's coming back that week as well. So a lot of GT Ministries coverage ahead. He'd like to tell you best of luck, but he'd also like to tell you as well that Mr. Cobra is a tough opponent.
Yeah. But at not one point I have said I'm going to walk over him. I've said it's going to be a hard-hitting war. I know he's a tough opponent. I really know he's a tough opponent. Like I say, I'm glad that's the last match out of the trio I'm doing because I'm going to have a good rest for a while after that one. But
well, that's why I said, do I know that this is going to be a retirement interview, the next one?
I mean, I'll still be wrestling in 2024. Put it that way.
Okay, so we've officially announced that we're not retiring no matter what happens, and we're going to wrestle in 2024.
We're not retiring. It'll just be a miserable end to the year if I lose them 3 in a row. A miserable end.
Well, let's hope that that's not the case. I mean, obviously, we'll see about Mr. Cobra. I mean, I do kind of agree, though, with Mr. Angel that Mr. Cobra's tough. I've seen Mr. Cobra a lot. You know that I've covered him live. I've had him on. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be a walk in the park. And his I got to be honest, Joel Cobra, I've had on a bunch of times, right? Joel Cobra, when I saw him 2 weeks ago, was a different Joel Cobra. I know you're the Tribal Cheese right now. We acknowledge you, but it's a different Joel Cobra right now. This is the first time that Joel Cobra in a long time that I can remember is healthy.
Yes, this is true. Now, the question to Gareth Angel, at the Modern Day Mafia ringside, because that is a big factor.
AJ and Mr. Douglas.
I mean, and Uncle Ralph, you know, he can get involved with that cane sometimes.
I love Uncle Ralph. I know Uncle Ralph very well.
It's the only one out of the Modern Day Mafia I've got respect for.
I would say Uncle Ralph, believe it or not, would be the guy I would fear the most.
Do you reckon we could actually get Uncle Ralph on for a show? That'd be a very intriguing watch.
You know what's funny? I've had Uncle Ralph comment in so many of my shows, but it's never occurred to me that Uncle Ralph would come on. I don't know if Uncle Ralph would want to come on.
You don't think?
If he wants to, I would love Uncle Ralph to come on. It's up to Uncle Ralph, though. I mean, I would have to say there's very few people that on Sportzwire I haven't had on, but yeah, Uncle Ralph's one of the few people that I haven't had on, I would say. Right. Uncle Ralph would be one of the few people in the British independent wrestling scene that I haven't had on. Maybe I should have Uncle Ralph on instead of Dean Allmark. What do you think? Maybe we should cancel Dean Allmark.
You've got to go.
I'll get in big. I'm sure that Mr. Leland will be
That could
watching
be
this.
the most tuned in show out of all time, the Dean Mall Mark one. How you pulled that one? That's a good one.
Right, that's because of Mr. Leland. Mr.
Yeah.
Leland, who's a document. He's a
Just testing you
filmmaker.
if you say Leland right or Leyland. Leland, yeah.
I think I got it right now because Mr. Leland will kill me, and he will definitely kill me. In fact, I'm really grateful for that opportunity because he's a filmmaker and he happened to have wrestled years ago, and he thinks that I'm that good enough that Mr. Allmark actually personally knows who I am. So I really
It's really good.
appreciate
That
And
I'm happy
Mr.
to hear
Angel,
that.
by the way, has a response. Mr. Angel, of course, I love a lot more than most people. I like to get in his comment, would like to tell me it's a straight up one-on-one.
That's what we want to hear, isn't it? So that would define it. Like if he beats me clean, there will be the handshake offered at the end of the match.
I know I'm not supposed to ask this question, but I'll ask it for fun. I'm sure you heard that Mr. Angel, which I just mentioned, has put out an open challenge on the 16th of September in the Fountains Church because he was supposed to have wrestled Disciple, but unfortunately Disciple has decided to exit stage left. And of course, Disciple has been one of my all-time favorites. I wish him nothing but the best, and we wish Disciple everything that's good in his life and such. But Mr. Angel is left without an opponent. Now, I don't know if you saw this, but Mr. Angel recently wrestled Jimmy Jackson. It was maybe one of the best matches I've ever seen Gareth Angel wrestle. But, you have any inclinations on Mr. Angel's open challenge in the Fountains Church? Or, I know you're not going to tell us anything.
I can't fight anybody with the name Angel in the name, can I?
What's that?
I can't fight anybody with the name Angel in the name, can I?
Well, his first name's Gareth, though.
He's too much of a good guy to want to throw out a challenge.
And by the way, cheap plug, he was just on BBC a few hours ago. He did a big interview talking about some of the works that he does in the community, which is kind of why we're having this show in Stockton, because of really Garrett's creative mind. I think him and Mr. Barris by far are the two best promoters in terms of what they do and just,
If it comes down to it, I would have to fight him, but I wouldn't like to fight him. That's what I would say. If it come down to it, I would take it, but I wouldn't like to take it.
So that would be a match that you'd have to think about then.
I mean, if I deal with Cobra in under 60 seconds, I'll go back in the ring and take the challenge.
Well, I don't listen. I love you, but I don't think you're gonna get Cobra. I don't think you're finishing Cobra in 60 seconds.
No. That's good. It's a long night. It's going to be a long night. Definitely
it's
a long
gonna be.
night.
Listen, what did Paul and John sing in the Beatles? It's gonna be a hard day's night. You're gonna be working like a dog. It's a hard day's night.
Yeah, and like I'm big. Cobra's bigger than me. We're just putting that out there.
Yes, but I think Cobra might be what, an inch and a half taller than you. But I
think he's like 6'3", something like that.
What, 6'1", 6'1 and a half?
6'1", yeah.
But I would say you might have the muscle advantage. No.
He's still got some significant power. There's significant power there.
I've watched him in the ring, and I've had him on here about 5 times. I've seen him. I've seen the tattoos. I've seen him in the state he's in right now. I think he's in the best shape of his career. So you don't have to please me or tell me differently. I mean, I have to ask you, because I am talking GT Ministries for a few minutes here, then we'll come back to CCW and get to closing thoughts. But is there anybody else on the GTM roster that's kind of caught your attention, or anybody that, you'd like to maybe say, hey, that's somebody down the road I might like to meet if you're going to be here in GTM?
Rabbit.
Right at the top. For now, right at the top, because Bentley's going to challenge him in the rematch. But
Rabbit. That's the one. After Cobra, Rabbit, Jack Johnson.
I think that you and Rarebit would be very intriguing. Very intriguing. Yep. I think you and Jack would be very intriguing. But Rarebit might be, again, just like what I said about Hybrid. I can't get an interview with Rarebit, by the way, just so you know. Rarebit doesn't.
No, that would be more intriguing than the actual match.
I've actually had, real quick, I've had people tell me off the air that they would actually love to see me interview Rarebit. But I'm like, how do I approach that? He doesn't talk.
Well, you can't approach it. It's got to be like, you probably get it when he retires, like The Undertaker didn't do them interviews, and then all of a sudden he started doing it.
I'll tell you what. if Dean Allmark wants to come on when Rarebit, whenever he hangs it up, I'm sure we'll get Rarebit. I had Paul Malin on last month, which is almost like a Dean Allmark, that he wanted to come on. So I'm sure when they're ready, they'll certainly come on here.
Yeah.
Let me get to another comment here. I wish I could accept, but I'm still in training. I would have suggested Sean only to face Gareth. That would be a good match. Well, but Gareth, I'll tell you what. I will have Gareth on before the 16th. And I'll talk about Garrett's open challenge. I'll talk about all that. And also, I got to ask you real quick, one more thing on GTM. What's your impressions of Bentley? I mean, Bentley's obviously going to be in the ring this weekend coming up against Jack for the Bolton Town title.
I'll be in attendance for the Bolton Town wrestling one as well. I will be in attendance. I'm in attendance for that show, yeah. It's true that Pick Your Poison card. It's too much of a good card for me to miss, and it's literally down the road, so I'll be there.
Are you going to be maybe trying to jinx Mr. Cobra and Mr. Douglas in that show? Mr. Cobra's going to kill me for that one.
He's like that Bentley and Jack Johnson one. I really want to see that.
You know what? And I've seen that match in GTM, and I've seen it obviously in the history that they've had in Bolton Town. I mean, I think Bentley and Jack is going to be. It's going to tell a great story.
It will. Yeah, I want to see that one in.
And Gareth, by the way, and you're going to see Gareth in the ring because Gareth is teaming up.
What kind of match is he in? Was it a tag team match? I don't know what stipulation it got picked out to be.
Yeah, so he's in a tag team match, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I have the card right in front of me for those that are listening and watching. You can go to Bolton Town Wrestling on Facebook. Also, check them out on Instagram. But yeah, so basically, it's Maverick Matt Williams, Gareth Angel against Eitan Steen, my old friend Eitan Steen, the LWF champion. Also, it's a possibility of Jenna and Eitan Steen and Stocks and Jenna.
Here's one. Have you ever had Jenna on?
I had Jenna on believe it or not, I had Jenna on right before you came on. Literally right before you came on. Yep. I had Jenna on. I had him on probably like a week before you came on.
Right. Okay.
In fact,
I was thinking like you meant yesterday. I was thinking like I didn't see that.
No, you wouldn't see that. No, I had Jenna on. Actually, believe it or not, I had Jenna on right before he went to the United States with a promoter that's actually a friend of mine. So actually, I'm part and parcel of having Jenna get booked.
And I'm going to book Jenna here as well. That's a match I would love.
And Jenna's been here in GTM. Jenna's everywhere.
I would love a match with
Jenna, by the way, I forgot to mention CCW.
He is. Yes, they signed Jenna as well. Yeah, that's a match I've always wanted to work with Jenna. Always.
So maybe I should throw that out there then. So maybe
throw that out there. Jenna, Rarebit, Jack Johnson.
All right, so let me get this straight. Before I move on here. So let me make sure I get this down. In GTM, we want Rarebit.
Yep.
Jack Johnson, right?
Yep.
CCW, we want Hybrid.
Yep.
Jenna,
Dagon and Adrian Black after them too.
Okay, and then obviously in the short term, we've got Mr. Cobra. So basically, I'm going to make sure I have this written down. So I'm taking a pen.
Okay.
Writing it down as we speak.
Okay.
GTM, we want Jack and Rarebit. CCW, we want Jenna and Hybrid, Dagan and Adrian Black. Anything else? Anything else, sir, before I move on, Mr. Tribal Cheese?
I'd like to take out the other two members of the modern day mafia, Douglas and AJ, when I finish with Cobra. There's one.
That's a tall order there, though, to go through all the mafia. You sure you want to do that?
I'd like to, just to finish off the mafia. I need like a tic-tac-toe. I can't just get the X. I need all three of them.
And I just want to run by the rest of the card because Mr. Angel's going to be on. Andrew Jepson and Jack Barron. I know Jack Barron very well. I know Mr. Jepson very well. Helena Razor. I've actually had Helena Razor on in the past. She's wrestling Alfie. Alfie, we know very well also here. Helena Razor is the BTW champion. It looks like we're going to see a title on a pole match. Just also here, we're going to see Jack and Bentley. It looks like based on the results, it's if Bentley loses, he can never challenge for the title again. We also have, it looks like here, it's going to be Stocks and Jenna against Maverick Matt Williams and Gareth Angel based on the results. We're We're gonna have Alex Boyle win the Metal God and Nikishi's title spot on the line against the models, Danny Hope and Joey Hayes. The models, I've seen the models, amazing work they put on, and that's the cards. You can go to Bolton Town Wrestling for more of that here. I have to ask you before I get to CCW one fun question because I've seen so many movies this summer. Oppenheimer, you didn't like. Why?
It was just, you know what? I mean, Christopher Nolan's a mastermind. I knew a lot about Robert Oppenheimer, like the build up to it, but
you commented on my Facebook page when I posted it, and you were like, "I walked out of that movie." So I'm like, I got you here in the hot seat. I got to ask you, why didn't you like Oppenheimer?
It's just 1 hour longer than it should be.
I agree with you in the fact that once the bomb was dropped,
and you know what? Then the bomb thing was so anticlimactic. I was like,
the bomb was like nothing happened. They put their heads down. They woke up, and the next day, the bomb's in the tent. It just drove off the military vehicle with the tent, and then it was like you never heard about it again. They didn't show nothing with it. I know we're spoiling the movie, but it's been out for 2 months already.
I think most people want to see it have seen it.
To me, and I also got to say it. Without being vulgar, the 2 nudity scenes, they were terrible.
And
I have to be honest, the person Florence Pugh with Cillian Murphy, who really should have been in the nudity scene, was Emily Blunt. She would have been better in that scene because she was a more attractive woman. Not to go into the weeds,
I don't even think it needed that sex scene. I
guess it was part of the story. But the point is, the 3 scenes that were hyped up in the movie, total duds. Total duds.
Yeah, it's fantastically acted, and as I said, it's gonna be an Oscar-winning movie.
They will win it because of Robert Downey Jr.'s role was phenomenal. Matt Damon played a huge part in the movie.
Yeah,
Cillian Murphy was great.
We're gonna put Matt Damon here as well because I was with him recently, and he's a great guy.
I saw that. Yeah, I've always been a fan of Matt Damon's work. Obviously, Bourne Identity. I've always been a fan of Matt Damon.
Yeah.
Any other movies you saw this summer?
Do you know what? I said this to my friend the other day. I said, "Do you know what? I'm fed up of seeing duds at the movie. I'm fed up of going in."
I actually go like every week. I like going to the movies.
But have you seen anything when you think, right? I would actually watch that like religiously, like big George Foreman film, dud. Indiana Jones.
I have an answer for that. Actually, yes, I actually have. I saw John Wick 4 times.
Okay, I didn't watch.
I saw Mission Impossible. I saw it twice in IMAX.
Do you know why I've not watched Mission Impossible? Because
why?
I stopped at Ghost Protocol and I've not filled in the others. So there's about 3 missing. That's the only reason.
You feel like you missed the story.
Yeah, I like to stay up to the stories, and it's like Game of Thrones. I watched season 1, 2, and 3 and loved it, and I went, I can't act waiting another year. So I waited for it to all be finished, and then people went, "Oh, the end of the Game of Thrones was the worst."
I saw Gran Turismo twice.
See, that's another one I want to watch. Gran Turismo and Tetris are on my list. I've got like a list there.
Gran Turismo is a very good movie. I think you would like Gran Turismo. Turismo is a good movie. I thought Gran Turismo was good. I saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles twice.
Was that good?
Yes. Although, if you're a true fan of the series, April's, which some people don't like, April's like a chubby black girl. She's not the original.
Oh, right. Okay. I judge films on, right, if I'm in the crowd and I start to see the feet go up and the phone come out.
No, Turtles was only like an hour and a half. Turtles, you wouldn't have felt bored. Gran Turismo was 2 hours and like 15 minutes, but it flows pretty well. Mission Impossible, I think you would have liked Mission Impossible. I think Mission Impossible was good. I think that was almost 3 hours. Yeah, there was a lot of duds this year. I saw Fast X. Fast X was I saw Indiana Jones, Dial of Destiny. I saw Barbie.
Oh, what's it like?
Barbie, well, I'm embarrassed to say I saw Barbie. You really want to know?
But I was going to watch it, and I was like, I'll just wait for that.
I saw Super Mario Brothers twice.
I didn't mind that. I watched that with the niece and nephew, but they loved it. So
Mario was good. I saw Creed 3.
Yeah.
Creed 3, my only gripe with Creed 3 was that how they made his opponent, the champion, was like not believable. It was okay.
Not believable at all. Straight
No.
out of jail, champion.
No.
It would never happen. The unified rules and all that. You'd have to have so many fights.
Yeah, it wasn't believable. They fought in a baseball stadium, and
Yeah,
they had
yeah,
this
yeah,
history. It was like like it was like it went away from the premise of the movie. So yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
look, I saw the last Guardians. Guardians was good. I thought Guardians.
Guardians 2 terrible.
But the only movies I would say before we move on to closing thoughts that were really, really good, I thought Mission Impossible, which I don't know why. Oh, last movie which I liked, Meg 2. Meg 2.
Come on. It's no Jaws or Jaws 2, is it?
But it was but it was tongue in cheek funny. It was Jason Statham. So yes, Meg 2 was very good. So I have to say but to say like the movies that I thought were really good, John Wick 4 was great. I think John Wick you would have liked. I think John Wick you would have liked. Mission Impossible, Gran Turismo. Those are my 3 best movies I saw this year.
Okay.
So
3 best movies I've watched this year. I'm struggling.
I saw a lot, probably more than you. Oppenheimer was middle of the road for me. Oppenheimer was middle of the road. But those are my 3. I think the rest of them, Turtles was good, but it was not depth. There was no depth to it.
One of my best films was Air.
Okay, yeah, I could see that. Yeah. And the worst movie I saw, by the way, just as a bonus point, The Flash. That was the worst movie I saw this year.
People have told me it's bad. People said it's for the Michael Keaton part is all right.
That the rest of the movie, you know how you just said? That was me during this. And I saw Spider-Man Across the Verse. Spider-Man was good. Spider-man was very good. I have to say,
you watched that twice, didn't you? I remember you hyping it.
Spider-Man was good. Yeah, Spider-Man was pretty good. I have to say, Spider-Man maybe was my 4th best movie. I would say Spider-Man was very good. All right, couple comments here from Daniel. Then I'll move on to CCW and closing thoughts. I saw Blue Beetle. Yeah, Blue Beetle I may see this weekend, but the movie I'm going to see tomorrow, by the way, in IMAX, Equalizer 3.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Equalizer 3. Because I saw the last
1 and 2 class.
Yes, and I saw the second one in the movie theater. So I saw You'll chuckle. I saw it in a rundown movie theater in Brooklyn. That's where I was. I went to see Equalizer 2, and it looked like they could have shot that movie in the movie theater I was in. It was like they hadn't cleaned the bathrooms in years. The seats were like, it was like, now I go to like a really fancy theater, but where I went to at the time to see it, it was like, in my old neighborhood, it was like, just like, I probably could have been in the movie.
It is a quick one. Have you ever been to Skid Row?
No, I have not been to Skid Row. No.
Do you not even just walk through it?
No, I haven't. What should I go to Skid Row?
I was just watching. Do you know, like I was saying to you, I was watching what San Francisco was like.
You're talking. No, I mean, no, I have not been to Skid Row. I mean, if you're talking about,
forget that question.
Los Angeles. No, I haven't. Okay, but actually, now that I think about it, I have a friend of mine that has been to Skid Row, so I could actually ask my friend. If you want,
I don't know. If you was like a tourist, could you actually walk through Skid Row and no one would get onto you?
I'll have to ask my friend because he did.
Yeah, I'm curious to know. Get them back to me.
I have a friend of mine that was in Los Angeles for about 3 weeks during COVID because the tickets were really cheap, and I could ask him about that. So I will be on my notes. I will go on WhatsApp and I will ask my friend, hey,
I'm so curious.
Cheese wanted to know before he beats me up. Have you been to Skid Row in Los Angeles?
I just want to walk through and do a video.
Transformers was disappointing. That was the one movie I missed this summer. Was Transformers?
Yeah.
I heard somebody told me that Transformer was like average. It was like Yeah. All right, fair enough here. So. Couple things here first. So the first thing I want to ask you is, what's your final words before the 10th of September, CCW Cutlery Championship Wrestling to Beelzebub?
The final words are, it's going to be good to seal that nail in the coffin. So make sure you get down there and see him in a one-on-one battle in a unique coffin match.
Hopefully it'll be better than the coffin match that you saw at All In.
was trying to rhyme something in with that. I was just trying to rhyme something about that.
I
But
think I would
yeah,
have rather. I think I would have rather seen or drank cough medicine than watched some of what I saw in that coffin match.
we didn't talk about All In. I wasn't that impressed about it.
Me
It was just,
either. Me either.
yeah, that's why we didn't talk it.
I didn't get the hype between Chris Jericho and Will Ospreay. All right, it was good, but the world title match, I was kind of bored. The MJF Adam Cole match, it was more about after the match. I mean, the women's match was okay. I guess Saraya winning, the Knight family was expected. I mean,
I like to say it was all very predictable. It was kind of like how they done that show was how Clash of the Castle was. Now they might come back and top it, but I don't think
safe to say you liked Money in the Bank more. You were hyped about Money in the Bank.
I love Money in the
You were
Bank.
hyped up, and by the way, you met far more people, I think, before Money in the Bank than All In. Did you run into anybody before All In?
No, I didn't. No, I wasn't.
Every wrestler, you were chatting with them, hanging out with them. All In. I didn't see you with anybody this year at All In.
No, I'm more of a WWE guy, like I was back in the day when I was a WWF guy and didn't go to WCW. So if it was a WWE UK pay per view, you know, I'm there. AEW was like,
How was the crowd into it? From your vantage point, was the crowd, because the WWE crowds, they were into Money in the Bank.
I don't believe they done 81,000 for a start. I've never had so many people offer me on an inbox free tickets.
A lot of props, huh? A lot of comp tickets.
Honestly, people was just like, "Do you want a ticket? Do you want a ticket? Do you want a ticket?" No. Yeah, I don't think I really missed anything on that, which is why we didn't talk about it. Even like there was no real buzz on the internet. I always look on Twitter.
You know, my problem is with AEW, real quick, is that AEW fans are almost like
that's the problem in it, because like that, out of All In, the only thing trending is him and Jack Perry in a fight. That's mad.
But see what you just said. That was going to be my point. My problem with AEW is that it's very like internet, like I've got to know it all fans. It's almost like they're like in music, they call those fans like snobs almost. They're like very like the AEW fan is very like cliquish. It's very like you can't talk anything negative about AEW. AEW is great. And AEW to me sometimes runs like uneven storylines. They sign all these guys because he's got the checkbook. And then,
you
know, look at Keith Lee. Look at Miro. They bring these guys in and what they do?
Even his Big Show in a match yet? Mark Henry?
No, Mark Henry. I don't think Mark Henry ever wrestled in AEW. I think he's just doing back.
They signed them, didn't they? They just signed all these people during COVID. All the thingy is all elite, blah blah is all elite. It was like wow, and then they've got all these guys that just don't wrestle.
Yeah, that's my problem with AEW. They've got probably a bigger roster than WWE, but like I don't know.
That's what WCW is doing, and they're just wasting money. Back in the day,
Kevin Nash was asked this question, and he said that he talked about it, that there's some mistakes. Eric Bischoff gave his advice to Tony Khan. He said Tony Khan basically ignored him. So he was like, I don't wish the guy ill will, but I wanted to give him some of my feedback because I see some similarities and what they should do differently. And basically Tony Khan didn't want to hear it. I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's to that level of WCW ineptness like 2000, 2001. But to me, the storylines I could just go without. But my other problem is I can't watch Dynamite Wednesday nights because I actually do a radio show, a non-Sportswire show that I'm actually employed to do. So I can't do any watching.
Do you know what training session I missed tonight? Marty Jones, he said he was not impressed, but I was like, but I'll be on the radio talking it. That was the only thing that calmed him down. It's like, Tuesday, are you going training? It's like, no.
All right, well, at least Mr. Jones was happy in that standpoint.
He was happy that I was plugging the show, yeah.
And by the way, Mr. I think it's Mr. Leyland would like to say hello. He would like to say hello. He is watching the show. He appreciated the kind words that we gave it. It is Mr. Leyland. Mr. Ley, I believe.
Leyland.
I
thought it was Leland. You said Leland. You said it wrong again.
I'm actually looking on Instagram now because he messaged me on Instagram. So I have to actually check that part back. But I'll move off from that in a second. But I got the closing thoughts on Beelzebub. But yeah. I don't know if I'm going to have you on before the 30th. Maybe I can. It depends on what you want to do. Maybe even Mr. Cobra wants to say hello. have you
I will
guys.
try and pop back on in October to talk about.
Okay, so we'll talk about this. So this is why I brought it up. So
this is like a busy schedule like that.
okay,
From
so this is so we'll have you on in October. So this is my last chance. I get a chance to speak with you before the 30th of September in Stockton, GT Ministries, the match that everybody's been talking about on social media. Your final words to Joel Cobra before the match that everybody has long waited to see. This is your last shot to say anything you want to Mr. Cobra before the 30th of September.
Well, first of all, we have to say you need to get your tickets now because it had sold over 100 tickets when it first was announced, that show. So you need to get your tickets to watch that fight live. We're just getting that out there, yeah? And then you will finally see us in the co-main event. It's a stacked card, but you'll finally see myself and Cobra get our hands on each other. We will give you a show like never before. So, as I said, whoever comes out the winner, my hand will be out to shake. But I think that winner is going to be the Mr. Cheese. So yeah, make sure you get your tickets. It's all for a good cause. And I'll look forward to seeing you all there. Make sure you get a Cheddar the Table shirt while you're there.
You better get a Cheddar the Table shirt. You better acknowledge Bree. You better find out why he is the tribal cheese. And also for more information, you go to Wrestling Church FCB on Instagram, Facebook, GT Ministries UK, and all platforms. And this is the match that we've been waiting for a long time on Sportswire Radio. When I think about the giants that have come onto this show throughout my career, at the top of the list are always Joel Cobra of the Modern Day Mafia and our tribal cheese, who we always acknowledge. Bree himself, the Big Cheese Logan, who is going to be in a match that a lot of people, like I said, this is my dream match. There's a lot of people have been wanting to see this match. It's going to take place the 30th of September, exactly 1 month from today. So that's it. This is the final.
Do you think it's possible in October we can have a trio of you, me, and Cobra to talk the match?
1,001%, not 1,000%. 1,001%.
Okay.
You name the date.
Let's try and make that happen.
All right. So you know what? You name the date. You name the day. You name the time. And we'll give you both the floor.
Okay.
Both the floor. How about that? That a deal?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a deal.
Okay. I'm sure that we'll make that happen. I also want to plug our friends over Cutlery Championship Wrestling one more time. Obviously, I know Ronnie Thatcher has his show going on as we speak, so people go and check that out. Also, Cutlery Championship _Wrestling on Instagram. Also, CCW's pages on Facebook, Carnage Championship Wrestling, Coming Out Wrestling, the main page. Go support all that. And Mr. Leyland, it's officially Leyland. I have now been told it's Leyland. So
didn't get wrong a few times. You said it right first time.
I had it right the first time. I got it wrong the second, third, fourth, and fifth time. But it is Luke Leyland. He is going to kill me for that because I am indebted to Mr. Leyland because of what he has done for us on Sportswire over the past year. But
I make sure you plug your upcoming guest that Mr. Leyland got you. Come on, your time to shine.
I listen. Well, Davey Blaze is going to be here Friday, so I'm going to be doing plenty of talk about Mr. Leyland and Mr. Allmark, and I'll make sure to shout you out in Mr. Allmark's segment. So I'll make sure of that. But I want to give you the floor now, give you some closing thoughts. Anything else you want to plug, share, or say? You know the drill by now, the tribal cheese, and acknowledge you.
It's Friday the 8th of September. I'll be fighting. There's no opponent named yet, but I'll be fighting for the Square Circle Wrestling Academy under Marty Jones. I know Colin the Bulldog Johnson will be in attendance, so will Johnny Saint, the NXT UK general manager. After that, 2 days later, I'll be up at Easington Lane, the LCAP Centre. That's at Easington Lane's got a great history, and I'll be dealing with Beelzebub in a coffin match. And then if you can't make any of them, get down to Stockton, where me and Cobra will finally give you the match that you've been waiting for. And if you've tuned in, thank you for acknowledging me.
I can't wait. Big Cheese Logan on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Mad Manx, almost 1,000 subscribers.
We're nearly there. We're so close.
And we've got some reels and shorts there that have just basically exploded. So he's becoming a YouTube darling. Go out there and support him. Support GTM. We're going to have more GTM coming up in 2 weeks for coverage with obviously Gareth Angel, Bentley, and much, much more ahead with CCW, Champagne Charlie, the Nomad, Dalton Garrett. We're also going to have on here the man that I'm very, very anxious to have once again back on here, Hybrid himself, later in the month of September. Stay tuned for all that. Good luck out there. I'm glad we're not going to have a retirement interview in October. I'm glad that we're going to see all great things ahead from you. I'm definitely rooting for you in these matches. It's going to be very difficult for me to pull for some side on the 30th of September now that we know that the both of you are going to be back on here in October. But I definitely acknowledge you, Bree. You were definitely our tribal cheese. I can't wait to see you out there, and go get them.
Thank you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was the tribal cheese himself, who we acknowledge as Bree, the Big Cheese Logan, who is now the newest member of the Coloring Championship Wrestling roster. He's also going to be a part of the Squared Circle Academy show coming up with Mr. Marty Jones on the 8th of September. Next week, we're also going to see him at the 10th, next Sunday's Coloring Championship Wrestling coffin match against Beelzebub. Also going to see him in that battle royal, that underground battle royal. And then the big one here, the 30th of September, GT Ministries Stockton against Joel Cobra in a match that everybody has been waiting to see, a straight-up old-fashioned one-on-one match. My name is the Reverend Tom Bryce, your voice of all wrestling, the host of Sportswire Radio, the man behind everything that you see here. Sportnarium.com/player, going back to your regularly scheduled programming. Also back here tomorrow night, IMF, WCE, DKW. Friday, though, please tune in 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. British Standard Time, Davey Blaze. And then Monday, the big one, Dean Allmark, 6 p.m. British Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Cannot thank enough again Luke Leyland for setting up this opportunity with the legendary Dean Allmark. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the number one global radio station that is Sportswire Radio. And thank you again to the Tribal Cheese, who we always acknowledge as Bree, Mr. Big Cheese Logan. Good